down the rabbit hole of rock and roll's past, present, and future. It's Barstool Rockers with your hosts, Jim Finn and Dan Michaels.
Okay, so you mentioned that while you have been on the road to recovery, that you have watched Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody many times.
Like a half a dozen in the last week and a half.
And I still have yet to see it.
I didn't dude, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
It pulls you in, and it's just a phenomenal. I know it's not historically accurate. You know, I know he didn't tell them about having AIDS until after Live Aid and stuff like that. But man, it's just phenomenal movie.
And from what I've heard, they really captured the Live Aid performance.
Yeah. I mean, there's
recreation of
a song or two that aren't in there, but they just did a phenomenal job. I think wall to wall with the movie, and like I said, it may not be historically accurate, but it's definitely a good tribute and a good document of Freddie. So and I read some things that said, it wasn't as Freddie was far more into debauchery and all these different things, but they kind of reined it in and kept it in a good place. And hats off to him. Yeah, so,
Well, recently a Freddie Mercury performance has been uncovered, and it was from right after the Live Aid performance that it was recorded. And so while you were in the rehab studios, we had a chance to talk with Dave Clark, yes, that Dave Clark of the Dave Clark 5, who created a musical back in the 80s and had Freddie record one of the songs. It's been in a vault for a long time, I think because Dave said he couldn't find it, but he finally found it and then unleashed it upon the world just about a month ago. It's a great performance. We had a chance to talk with Dave Clark about his collaboration with Freddie Mercury.
Hi, Jim. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dave?
Good, thank you.
This recording, Time Waits for No One, has been locked away in the vaults for a very long time.
A long time.
Yeah, another incredible performance from Mr. Freddie Mercury. Tell us, Dave, how did your collaboration with Freddie begin?
It started in the 80s, really. I mean, I met Freddie at one of his concerts. I stood on the stage in the wings to watch it. And I always remember he came on in a black leotard and black nail varnish, and I thought, wow, this looks like Liza Minnelli. And as soon as he opened his mouth, unbelievable, incredible. And we became friends. After the concert, we went to a restaurant called Mr. Chow with Elton John, and I've always admired Freddie. When I was going to do my musical, the record company said, you'll never get him. And so I got on to Freddie's girlfriend at the time, who actually gave me his phone number in Munich, in Germany, and I phoned him up, and that's how it all happened.
Now, the musical Time was your baby, your brainchild.
Yes, it was.
What led you to working on that stage production?
Well, going back to the 60s, we all believed in peace and love, and the Beatles did an amazing job on that. And I purposely, with the DC-5, didn't record anything like that because I didn't want people to say we are copying or cashing in on what they're doing. But then when we stopped, I've always felt strong about what's happening in the world. I'm not political, but I care about what's happening. And that's what Time was about. And it gave me a chance to actually, put it into the musical. And we had one of the greatest actors in it, Sir Laurence Olivier, who was a 20th century's biggest actor, in the world. And it was wonderful.
I was going to say the lyrics to this song seem pretty relevant today for these times.
Well, it was the same message that, in a different way. It was on Time. And sadly, we've all wanted that peace and stay in the world, and we're still praying for it. It's so that it's very relevant now. And there is the chorus of the song saying "Time waits for no one," and it really doesn't for any of us. you know.
What were the recording sessions like with Freddie for this song? What happened during the recording sessions?
Oh, it was amazing. He would never start recording until 6 in the evening, but he would go non-stop until 6 the following morning. But he was wonderful because he didn't know how to market. He would go and give a performance that it could be before 100,000 people. He just went out. And his chef, Joe Finelli, used to bring in every night this big hamper of amazing food with Cristal champagne and vodka. And even to the tape op in the control room, it was for everybody. He was very generous.
And you and Freddie became really close friends during that time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No, he was very special.
I think if I put this in context with the time period, I think the recording of this song probably would have been maybe a year after Queen's Live Aid performance, somewhere around there?
Yes, it was. He was spot on because theirs was 1985, and it was less than a year because it was the summer of '85, and we recorded this in January 86.
Okay.
It was only maybe 6 months after.
How come it took so long to release this song that's been in the vaults for so long?
Why did it take so long?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find it. Because
it was lost.
The original. When I first went into Abbey Road with Freddie, it was just him and piano, and it gave me goosebumps. But then we got into the production, and it had 48 tracks of just backing vocals alone, which had never been done at Abbey Road before. And then the final production was 96 tracks. And I was happy with it. Freddie was happy with it. The record was released. It did over 5 million records. And it was only a decade after I thought to myself, do you know what? I missed that goosebump feeling. I went to Abbey Road and couldn't find it. Could not find it. So over a decade or so, I got my recording engineer, to go down and see whether we could find the tape, and we couldn't. And it was the end of 2017, we found it. And that's when I started work on it.
That had to be a pretty arduous project to strip away everything else.
Yeah, well, I mean, Freddie, there's very few performers that can do that. Because, I mean, everybody sees Freddie. He's an amazing performer, but he's backed by an amazing band, Queen. He plays to hundreds of thousands of people. You take all that away, and it's just him on his own, on piano. And if you've seen the film I shot just on an empty stage, he's, he tastes every word,
Mm-hmm.
He's totally into it. It's not marked, or by marked, I mean, done on numbers. It isn't. He just feels it, and it's amazing.
That had to be something to watch, just that performance. He had this amazing ability to just give us all goosebumps because he connected
Yes.
He connected with the song so much.
He did. You can tell. He's acting it out. He's tasting every word. He totally believes what he's singing. You know what I mean? A lot of people just sing it and that's it. He's totally into what the words are saying, what the message is saying.
Do you have any memories of your time with Freddie Mercury that you could share with us? Any specific, maybe humorous moments, or just something that maybe...
Oh, well, I mean, have you seen the film? Did you see the interview I did with Freddie?
No, I have not seen that.
No, we did one straight after we shot the film, and it was quite funny. It was talking about what you've just asked for when we first went into the studio. He said, well, how would you... he said, David, how do you want me to sing this song? And I said, I want a cross between Edith Piaf,
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Holliday, and Shirley Bassey. He said, well, my dear, I have all the dresses, I can do it. It's very Freddie.
That's very Freddie. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, Dave Clark.
My pleasure.
What are you working on now? Do you have any other projects you're working on now?
I might go back to my music a bit, but we'll see.
Okay, the British press, they used to say that the Dave Clark Five, they were serious competition for the Beatles back in the day. Did you ever feel that?
Yeah. Well, they always, in the British press, it was always, they called us the Tottenham sound because I came from Tottenham, which is London, a suburb of London, and the Beatles came from Liverpool, so it was always Liverpool versus Tottenham, the Tottenham sound. And we joked about it. I mean, I did with John Lennon, and recently, in the last few years, we shot a documentary on the history of the DC-5.
And
Paul McCartney said he laughed about it. He said it was wonderful because it was what we were both aiming for. Nothing to do with me, nothing to do with Paul or the Beatles. It was just the press, because in England there's a great rivalry with football. Liverpool versus Tottenham. It's Liverpool versus London. That's what it was, really.
All right, Dave, we're going to keep you on schedule here this morning. We thank you we're thankful that you found this amazing recording and have released it, because it's just another amazing Freddie Mercury performance, and we thank you for the work you've done on it.
So it was Freddie solo again, right after Live Aid. Mm-hmm. It wasn't with Queen. It was just Freddie.
Yeah, and if you can imagine being in a recording studio with the great Freddie Mercury, and it's just Freddie and a piano, and he performs that song. And like Dave said in the interview, Freddie Mercury just had this insane ability to connect with lyrics, so much so that he would just wring out every fiber of emotion from songs.
And that's how you tell the greats. I mean, you can do that with guys on the singer-songwriter level here in town, and you can do it with guys nationally. You can tell who's faking it and who's being true. And even watch, again, I never saw Queen live. I didn't see them myself. But in the movie, Bohemian Rhapsody, they just had this ability to connect to the audience, and it was insane.
Yeah.
Even just, the stomp, stomp, clap, that they did it to connect to the audience. And the AO thing that he always did with the audience, the same thing.
Yeah.
And that was maybe I learned that from somehow remotely. I remember the very first Rivalry Rock Fest.
Okay.
And it was pouring rain. And they said, you got to get out there and you got to get the crowd going. And I didn't know what I was going to do.
Did you go out and stomp your feet?
No, but I did the Deo.
Yeah.
And the crowd responded.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa. And I kept going with it a few times. And then I introduced Eddie Money. I was like, whoa, that is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how the two connect. I don't know where I would have picked it up, but man, it was. Yeah.
Well, Freddie Mercury, he just had that talent. He was an incredible front man. And as far as vocalists go, I mean.
Yeah, that band was they stole Live Aid. They weren't even supposed to be on the lineup.
Right.
And they stole the show that day. Absolutely mowed it down.
Amazing performance. And any time we get a chance to hear anything from the vaults that Freddie had something to do with, it's always a good thing.
Absolutely. Hey, folks, if you enjoyed what we do on this podcast, it's called Barstool Rockers, and we would love it if you can give us a favorable rating and subscribe to us over at the Apple Podcast service, Spotify, or the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you're listening to us right now. Every time you give us a review, whether it's positive or negative, although we prefer the positive ones, it does help new listeners find the show. There's a lot of podcasts out there, and we do thank you for choosing ours. We also thank Joe Kelly, the guy whose voice has its own zip code, who does our introduction, and of course our very dear friend Anastasia Wisniewski, who created the music for our podcast as well. If you know somebody who may enjoy what we're doing, please share the episode with them so we can try to grow this thing just a little bit. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, barstoolrockers@gmail.com. Of course, you can get to us at barstoolrockers.com. That's where all the earsodes are, except the really early embarrassing ones. And our Facebook page, of course, is Barstool Rockers. And, of course, to each and every one of you, thank you for listening.